From the National Weather Service in Raleigh, it's Nick Petro with your Monday morning routine weekly briefing for Central North Carolina. This weather period, or this briefing that is, covers the period today through Sunday this week, the 18th through the 24th of May. So I thought we'd first start off today's briefing with a quick look of what's going on out there. There's so many weather features here to draw your attention to. A very active weather pattern. Of course, we've got Tropical Storm Arthur, which is an early season, storm system, but hasn't been terribly bad so far, and that's not unusual with May tropical cyclones. And you can see here's the official forecast. These orange plots here, the official National Hurricane Center forecast. You can see there's some of these dots are various models of way out in time where it may go. This blue line, this is the aircraft reconnaissance mission, and we can sample that and see what it's come up with. But I also want to draw your attention to this weather system out here over the Ohio Valley and up into the Midwest and Great Lakes region. That weather system, combined with some moisture that's coming from the south, is really going to come together in an unfortunate way to really bring us quite a bit of rain over the next few days. So while right now all attention is focused here along the coast, that's really not what has my attention. It's what's to our west. And I just stopped this loop here, and it's kind of neat. You can overlay and see what the aircraft is showing. But basically, this is an issue for the Arthur is obviously an issue for the Western Atlantic and for the far eastern North Carolina, but fortunately it hasn't been too terribly bad. Let me show some observations. Bear with me here while I switch screens, and let's see if I can get some of the latest observations here plotted. And yeah, I wanted to show currently this is what's going on with Arthur, and what I have overlaid here are wind gusts. This is the latest wind gusts. And you can see these values are in miles per hour. So we're talking mid to upper 20 mile per hour wind speeds. If I change on the far right here, if I change from wind gust to max wind gust since midnight, we could see, this storm, Arthur, is definitely, tropical storm criteria here with wind gusts in the 40s there offshore, and some wind gusts into the mid 30s there along the immediate coastal areas. And if you're wondering how much rain has fallen so far, let's go with precipitation, and then let's change that to we'll do 24 hours, and you can see there's 24-hour rainfall amounts. And that's been somewhere in the 2 to 3 inch rain there across eastern North Carolina. So particularly underneath that heavier band that you see there from the Virginia Beach area down through Albemarle Sound and down into down East Carteret County, there's been that band has produced the heaviest rain on the order of 2 to 3 inches in spots. So that's been sort of the character of this weather system. Not terribly bad. Looking at power outages, really not seeing much of any here on the Outer Banks, and even Dare County is not really seeing much in the way of power outages. So if you're wondering how did I get this map, let me show you that real quick. If you go to weather.gov/Raleigh, okay, real easy to remember. Or even if you just go to weather.gov, just remember weather.gov, click on Central North Carolina, and then go here, and that'll take you to weather.gov/Raleigh. And then under current conditions, the drop down here under current conditions, if you click observations map and you load that, that's how I got this map. Real easy to use. It defaults to, I've got, if you go over here to observations in the upper right, there's a drop down here. And then you could change this background plot. So here's how I got wind gust. And again, that drop down under display, here's how I got precipitation. And you could plot the various amounts. Here's 72-hour precipitation, for example, whatever the case may be. All right. So again, my main concern for us here is what is happening Not here, but what's happening out here. So let me get back to the slides here, and we'll get on with our presentation. This slide here shows that weather pattern as it's going to evolve. And notice how Arthur's just going to kind of move out of the picture to the east. And then we've got this frontal system that I pointed out earlier over the Mississippi and Ohio Valley and Great Lakes. That's going to move eastward. Unfortunately, it's just going to stall. The upper level system that's driving this is just going to stall over the eastern part of the country. And we're just going to have, bout after bout of rain here right through the week. So, the key points here, other than a few passing showers, Tropical Storm Arthur will have little, if any, impact on central North Carolina this afternoon. But an area of moderate to heavy rain is expected to come in from the west, and that will overspread central North Carolina from southwest to northeast this evening and tonight. And rainfall amounts 1 to 1.5 inches are possible through tonight. Highest totals will be from the Triad region south through the Sandhills. Minor urban flooding and rises on area creeks and rivers may occur. Additional periods of moderate to heavy rain are possible Tuesday through Thursday, with that system basically stalling over the area. Gulf and Atlantic moisture just gets drawn into the area. Additional rainfall 1 to 3 inches are expected with higher totals. This is a prolonged rainfall threat, so that will, and with the risk of heavy showers and storms repeatedly hitting the same areas, that'll bring the potential for flooding, especially over the western Piedmont. Flood watches may be needed for a portion of central North Carolina as we head through the week. Rises on area rivers are likely through mid to late week. So that's unfortunately the way things are shaping up here. It's going to be a wet week, I think, is basically one way to summarize all that. The risk for additional showers will continue through this weekend, although probably not as heavy. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide, and this shows the actual accumulated rainfall amount through the next 7 days. And you can see those higher amounts just really from one panel to the next. You can see they're evolving today over the mountains and to our west, and then it's pretty much over us Tuesday and Wednesday. And then Thursday and Friday still looks pretty wet. Might thin out a little bit Saturday and Sunday, maybe not quite as wet. But when you look at those 7-day totals, we're looking at 3 to 5 inches of rain, with the heaviest amounts across the western portion of the state. Okay, and you can see that swath offshore off the Outer Banks. That's associated with Arthur. All right. Now, this is a product from the Weather Prediction Center. They produce now what's called the Excessive Rainfall Outlook. They've been doing this for a couple years now. And what this is it's a way to gauge the threat of flooding. So, just like the Storm Prediction Center does categories for severe thunderstorms, the Weather Prediction Center is now doing these categories for excessive rainfall and associated flooding. So you can see much of central North Carolina, particularly from the Triad down to the Sandhills, is in the slight category, which means mainly localized flash flooding possible. Most vulnerable areas are urban areas, roads, small streams and washes, isolated significant flash floods possible. So clearly you can see out towards the mountains and the foothills, that's where the greater threat is, where numerous flash floods are likely. So that will be something we'll be hearing probably about in the news over the next few days, and that will continue basically into midweek. So anyway, if you have any interests out in the far western portion of the state, definitely check with our counterparts in the Greenville, Spartanburg, and Blacksburg forecast offices for their briefings, which will provide more details on what's happening to our west. All right, let's not forget about severe thunderstorm threat as we head through the week. It looks like the best chance for severe thunderstorms today will be to our south and west. And then we're just in a general thunder for Tuesday and Wednesday. General thunder just means thunderstorms, not necessarily severe. All right. So then looking further down the road, unfortunately, the wet signal in the models are continuing. That's why we're painted green there on the right side. But at the same time, there is some suggestion here that temperatures could run a bit above normal. So that's for the following week, for next week, or next week rather. Sorry about that. All right, so that kind of wraps up this briefing. And really, if you look at the bottom and you look at the day-to-day panels there, that pretty much tells the whole story. 70, 80% rain chance right through the week. I'm sorry to have to bring this to you. At the same time, we're going to be on the colder side of the front, so that should limit the thunderstorm and severe thunderstorm risk. Typically May, we always watch out for severe thunderstorms. Obviously, we're watching out for severe thunderstorms all year round, but May is one of the higher months of the year in terms of occurrences of severe thunderstorms. But those cooler temperatures, the rain will hold the temps back, 60s for highs. That should basically limit any risk for thunderstorms, at least severe thunderstorms anyway. All right, so again, just kind of wrapping it up, a few impacts, little if any impact from us from Arthur, other than just a few passing showers. We're looking for rain to move in tonight in 1 to 1.5 inches possible through tonight, highest from the Triad to the Sandhills, and then additional rain basically Tuesday through Thursday, another 1 to 3 inches of rain expected. Additional showers this weekend, not as heavy. When you add up 7 days worth of rain, we're looking at 3 to 5 inches, heaviest across the western part of the state. And then what's that going to bring in terms of hazards and impacts? We're looking at minor urban flooding and rises on area creeks and rivers, maybe as early as tonight through Tuesday morning. And then that additional rain will bring up the risk for basically flooding and perhaps stream, creek, urban, low-lying areas, and then eventually maybe some minor river flooding. Flood watches may be needed for portions of central North Carolina, and rises on area rivers are likely through midweek. So that's the way things are shaping up. If you're wondering, well, what about the rivers? Are we going to see any, with all this rain, how's that going to affect our river situation? And let me take you to just real quick here before I know we've gone long here, but I think this might answer a few questions. But if you go to our webpage at weather.gov/Raleigh, click on rivers and lakes, and you go to the river forecast map, and this is courtesy of the Southeast River Forecast Center. And notice that all the dots, those dots are forecast points. They're all green, meaning no flooding is forecast. So let me just randomly pick one here, let's say on the Haw River, and you can see well below any kind of flood stage there. I will point out that this only incorporates these forecast models that generate this hydrograph, only incorporates basically 2 days amount of rainfall. So we are expecting, when you look at, 4 or 5 days of rainfall, then to get an idea what's going to happen to the rivers, you more or less have to look at these ensemble river guidance, which takes into longer periods of time and additional rainfall. So how do you get to that? Again, under rivers and lakes, go down to local MMEFS ensemble river guidance page. And if you click on that, generally, well, the way it's broken down here, it's by tab. Roanoke River, if your interest is the Tar River, click the Tar River tab, Neuse River, and so on. Okay, so we'll just start with the Neuse River. And if you look at, here are the forecast locations, Clayton, Smithfield, Goldsboro. And if you look at these stages, these NAIFS, N-E-A-F-S stages, this is a compilation of 42 models. The GEFS are fewer models, 21 models. So I tend to look at the NAIFS to just get more of an idea for how many models are included. And you can see the here is the ensemble of all the different river forecasts for Clayton. And, about half of the models are suggesting minor flooding. What about at Smithfield? About, half of the models are suggesting, minor flooding. And again, that's later this week as we get down towards the later this week and weekend. Goldsboro, maybe not as much. Now, if you're wondering, well, how much rain is it going to take to produce this kind of flooding? Then you can slide over to these links here on the far left, which QPF is the precipitation amount forecast, quantitative precip forecast, QPF. So for example, what creates the NAIFS stage is the NAIFS QPF, how much rainfall. And those upper end models are showing, anywhere from 3, 4, maybe 5 inches of rain. So, 3 to 5 inches of rain seems reasonable. So if we do get, the upper end of 3 to 5 inches of rain, that will probably produce some minor flooding on the Neuse River. Okay, so that's basically, and that would be later this week into this weekend. All right. So anyway, if we look west towards, say, the Yadkin College, there's the NAEFS QPF, and we're looking at, the upper lines here are suggesting 4 to maybe 6 inches of rain. And what 4 to 6 inches of rain would give you is probably nothing more than minor flooding. So it appears as though we should be able to this event this week probably won't cause a major river flood event, but clearly, just real quick, the Haw River. We'll take a look at the Haw River. The upper half, if you will, the 50% of that, the half that's greater than the average or the median here would suggest anywhere from 3 to upwards of 6 inches of rain. And if you look at the corresponding reaction to the rivers, again, suggesting at most minor flooding. So the takeaway from there is that there probably will be some reaction on the rivers with all this rainfall occurring, but probably not any type of record flood event or anything too crazy. All right, something that we should be able to handle, something that we've seen before in terms of the type of river flooding we've seen before. No worries for anything beyond minor. Now, obviously, if things change or if we end up getting more rain than is expected, then obviously that could have an impact on what I just laid out here a few moments ago. But nevertheless, regardless of the case, we'll be keeping our eyes on it, and we'll be sending update PowerPoint briefings throughout the course of the week to keep you updated on all the latest.